I could have, I really wasn't sure. I could have, I really wasn't sure. I kind of have a slight problem with making decisions. It's not the best.
And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. It's fun time with Alex Jones, starring Alex Jones. Yay! Yay! Ah!
constantly being accused of getting my orders from Israel.
Those buildings will be knocked down next week. Again, I was on television.
Yeah. Oh boy!
Welcome back to the late night show where we look at the more deranged conundrums of the art world. I'm your host, Alias Anonymous. Tonight's WTF, the Spanish fresco Ecce Homo and one elderly woman's attempt to restore it. Behold the monkey indeed! Caveat. Well now, where do we begin with this artistic faceplant? What's that? Excuse me for a moment. Somebody's whispering something to me. Oh, okay. Good idea. The King of Hearts tells me to, and I quote, begin at the beginning and go on till you come to the end. Then stop. Let's climb into Wayback Machine and travel to 2012, Spain, the town of Borja. 81-year-old amateur painter Cecilia Jimenez looked upon the worn face of Christ in the fresco Ecce Homo on the wall of her church and thought to herself, I alone can fix this. We need to rewind and take a look at the original work from 1930 by Elias Garcia Martinez in the Sanctuary of Maria. The 2012 degraded version of the artwork and the restoration, quote unquote, by Cecilia. So, Cecilia saw this, and then she painted this. What was she thinking? Somewhere in the artistic process, things got slightly out of hand, went off the rails. The world will never really know what Cecilia was thinking as she painted this, but we could surmise that she began touching up the more worn areas, and then her eyes gazed at the face, and here and there began painting little dabs of paint, and then slowly began covering up Christ's face. And she probably didn't have a copy of the work to look at, and then she had covered up the face enough that she couldn't reference anything, and then somehow maybe she was trying to remember where his eyes were looking and the mouth. Good Lord, those eyes, which once gazed off into the distance, now those dark pupils stare straight at the viewer, as if to try to comprehend what had happened to Christ, and that funny mouth that cocked at an angle, misshapen, nothing like the original. Well, my, what more can be said about this? That's enough shade thrown on poor Cecilia's direction. Let's wish her well. Join us again next time, and we'll cast our net into the deep sea of artistic derangement and see what we haul up. Nighty night. From me and Caveat, the Latin cat.
Dr. Valentino to the OR, please. Dr. Valentino to the OR, please.
Would you like to see the Mona Lisa? I know a guy who knows a guy who can show it to you right now. You're really gonna like it.
Well, I could have, I really wasn't sure, well,
The night's a cup of evil. The shrill whistle of a policeman pierces it like a vibrating pin. Hey, you, slut. How come if you're gone, the wave's still black and still makes me burn? The earth has edges of coffin in its shadow. Hey, you, slut. Don't come back. My flesh swims in a cup of darkness that still makes me ache. My flesh swims in her, as in the marshy heart of woman. Astral ember. I felt dry caresses of clay fall upon my diaphanous lotus. Ah, woman. For you exists the flesh of instinct. Ah, woman. That's why, oh black chalice, even now that you're gone, I choke on the dust, and so many more desires to drink in my flesh, stamp their hooves in my flesh. Welcome back to the late night show where we look at the more deranged conundrums of the art world. I'm your host, Alias Anonymous. Tonight's episode, You Can Kiss My Art. On Art Damage, we're going to ask the eternally important questions. Where do you draw the line? And do you know where the line is? Cy Twombly certainly knew where to draw the line. He drew the line all over his canvases, in huge colorful scrawls, in wordless asemic writing, in cryptic references to Greco-Roman myths and history. Philosophically, he saw no artistic line he wouldn't cross, angering the public and other artists who didn't see what he created as art. But that's a whole other kettle of fish. Rindy Sam apparently saw his paintings as art, so much so that the 30-year-old French-Cambodian woman was inspired by passion to plant a lipstick kiss on a pure white panel, part of a triptych titled Phaedrus by Twombly, thus leaving a bourgeois rouge best lip print that was impossible to remove from the $2.5 million painting. That July 19, 2007 day at the Museum of Contemporary Art in Avignon, France, Rindy Sam lost sight of the line, if she ever knew where it was. Moved by some internal urge, she didn't see the art as belonging to someone else, and as she would say in court later, she committed an act of love. I didn't think when I kissed it, I thought the artist would have understood. The prosecution had a decidedly different view, describing Rindy's kiss as a revolting, bestial act of cruelty, a rape, and aggressive as a punch. Agnès Tricoire, plaintiff Yves Lambert's lawyer, said, "I do not share her vision of love. For me, love requires the consent of both sides." She asked for $2,878,000 in damages, including $47,000 cost for the restoration of the painting, which required 30 different products and was still unsuccessful in returning Twombly's painting to its original state. Ultimately, the court ruled that Rindy Sam pay a fine to the owner of the gallery, to the owner of the painting, and a symbolic €1 to artist Cy Twombly. Rindy Sam joined a long line, albeit less obviously violent, of maniacs who've slashed, thrown acid, set off bombs, shot at, objects thrown, and otherwise acted out private grievances and rage against works of art. These include assaults on Picasso's Guernica, Rodin's sculpture The Thinker, Michelangelo's David, 3 different attacks over a century on Rembrandt's The Night Watch, and 3 attacks on the Mona Lisa. Mona Lisa, Mona Lisa. Men have maimed you. Even Rindy's lipstick incident is not the first of that kind. In 1912, 1977, and 1998, there were acts of kissing vandalism on various paintings. Geez Louise! Heavens to Murgatroyd! And holy shit, caveat. The loonies are always on the loose in our weird, weird world. Seen in the light of slashers, acid throwers, and their ilk, it's tempting to forgive Sam's more quiet, almost romantic gesture, but it's still vandalism because she permanently marred a work of art created by someone else. It doesn't matter the value monetarily of the art. It didn't belong to her, and she crossed that invisible line in her act. Being an artist herself, so it's reported, she should have thought about how she would have felt if someone else permanently altered art she had labored to create. Perhaps she should create paintings and then kiss them with her signature lipstick. I'm sure, given her notoriety, she could find a market for them. But beware, Rindy, because I'd bet money that there'd be more than a few viewers with lipstick on or other acts in mind upon seeing your art. Well, that's it for tonight's show. Join us again next time, and we'll cast our net into the deep sea of artistic derangement and see what we haul up. Nighty night from me and Caveat, the Latin cat.
could have, I really wasn't sure. I have a slight problem.
Welcome back to the late night show where we look at the more deranged conundrums of the art world. I'm your host, Alias Anonymous. I want you to watch art damage. I want you to watch art damage. I want you to watch art damage. On tonight's show, history of propaganda art. From around the globe, from the past to the present. The blatantly racist to the funny. Different styles, examples, and moods. Hear the term propaganda, and what's the first thought that comes to mind? Information that's created to push an agenda with a distinct negative tone. It's sometimes political, religious, or corporate. But it can apply to any situation involving a cause, institution, or group that wants to persuade the public. Propaganda is spread through all forms of media in a coordinated way to reach a maximum number of people. In fact, the origins and history of the term show it to be neutral before the modern sense of negativity we immediately associate with it. It began with the Catholic Church in 1622 when a new administrative body called the Congregation for Propagating the Faith was formed as part of the Counter-Reformation to bolster the Catholic faith in response to the rise of the Protestant religion. The root of the modern Latin word is propagare, meaning to spread, to propagate. Propaganda art, in its visual form, is the most widespread type, as it uses bold, provocative imagery that anyone can comprehend, because it doesn't depend on language primarily to capture the attention of a passerby on the street. The graphic styles evolved over centuries are an art unto themselves, using basic geometric shapes and colors to convey ideas of patriotism, enemies, heroic workers, traitors from within, and blissful families who obey their leaders. Visual scale within propaganda art depends on the idea that's being expressed. A giant octopus with the American flag on its head, reaching its tentacles across a map of France. A tiny man being squashed by a pointing finger because his loose talk got a U.S. ship sunk in World War II. A communist true believer standing atop the globe with a large banner. The enemy is often depicted as an inhuman brute, demonic, ugly, ready to snatch our innocent women and children and take them away. Our people are paragons of righteous virtue, strong, masculine, feminine women who tend the home with care and love. People striding to battle or work. Let's take a look more closely at some dramatic examples of propaganda art from different countries and used for different purposes. First up is a Soviet space race poster from 1960 by Konstantin Ivanov titled "The Road is Open for Humans." It is about the launch of Belka and Strelka, two dogs, into space before the first human missions. It's a classic portrayal of scientific heroism in the name of communism forging the human future. Basically, three contrasting colors, red, beige, and blue, with a bit of gray, black, and white. A stalwart man in profile looking into space who represents communism, holding a rocket with the images of the two dogs who are about to go off into space. The man is outsized in relation to the Earth behind him. The orbit of the rocket is shown in a white spiral around the globe. On the rocket, we see the Soviet symbols, a red star and a hammer and sickle. It's meant to convey confident seriousness about the cause of communism conquering space. Next, we go to India and look at a poster titled "Our Noyane," No More Injustice, used by the Hindu Nationalist Party BJP in a West Bengal election in 2021. It's an example of a right-wing party appropriating traditional leftist images from the Soviet era for its cause. A huge raised fist breaking free from shackles. Two strong men supporting it. The poster is composed of three distinct colors: white, black, and saffron. Saffron being the color that represents bravery, sacrifice, and purity. And finally, tonight's last examples are two that show Nazi-era anti-Semitism in an untitled Dutch poster and a German one from the collection of a Belgian man named Arthur Langerman. The first one, on the left, depicts a Jewish man being confronted by two muscular non-Jews, a worker and a soldier. The Jew is shown in the typical anti-Semitic style as a fat, bespectacled urban man pose in a tux and spats, lounging in an armchair with a cigar, large nose, bulging lips. He's got a little yellow star on his jacket just to make sure you identify him as a Jew. The title translates as "Together we will crush him." Charming message. This image of a typical Jew is actually less offensive than many others of the time, which artists of the era took relish in portraying as hideous lechers, rats, lice, and other vermin. Again, bold visuals show these hypermasculine Aryans as about to kick some bloodsucker Jew butt. The second poster shows yet again an urban Jew. Top hat, fancy clothes, huge drooping nose, scowling face, being pointed out by a giant finger. Attention, Jew, presumably being identified by society as a dreaded Jew. These two posters are just a small drop in the bucket of all the anti-Semitic propaganda that flourished for decades in Europe, preceding the Nazis and the Holocaust. Beginning in childhood, German children played board games that depicted Jews in the most negative light, and through nursery rhymes and other methods, small minds were molded to grow up to be Jew haters without any sense that what they were doing was wrong, because they were brainwashed from the time they were toddlers to dislike, suspect, and hate Jews. That's, in a nutshell, how propaganda works. Because the masters of propaganda disseminate their messages in many different forms so that it comes at you from all sides in subtle ways and also in big ways. But it seeps into your brain and distorts your thinking to where you can't see reality in a sane way anymore, and you've been trained to think a certain way and hate certain people, certain religions, certain countries. And conversely, you're taught to have unwavering devotion and love and sacrifice for causes and people like Dear Leader. Dear Leader being Charlie Manson, Jim Jones, Stalin, a TV preacher, fill in the blank. But good news, cats and kitties, because with the power of critical thinking and being an eternal doubter, you can perhaps pierce the bubbles of illusion and delusion that forces want you to be swayed by, and therefore lead a saner life. Well, that's enough propaganda for one night. Join us again next time, and we'll cast our net into the deep sea of artistic derangement and see what we haul up. Nighty night from me and Caveat, the Latin cat.
I've got an idea. You could take that to the bank.
They say jellyfish are lazy, but I don't think their lives are that crazy. Soft-bodied sea creatures showing off their curvy features. They don't seem to give a fuck, swimming around testing their luck. I'd like to be a jellyfish, it's a dream of mine. My only wish, we're all just animals, living meaningless lives with unachievable goals. Why can't we be like the jellyfish, gelatinous creatures that don't give a shit, bell-bodied bitches that leave you in stitches? I try to justify my life by convincing myself of complex lies. Why can't I just be free, like these fish made of jelly? I'd like to be a jellyfish, I'd like to be a jellyfish. Why don't you be a jellyfish with me?
Welcome back to the late night show where we look at the more deranged conundrums of the art world. I'm your host, Alias Anonymous. On this episode of Art Damage, we're going to do things a little differently in honor of Halloween. We're going to hand things over to our friend Caveat the Latin Cat, who apparently has a whole bunch of surprises for us. Let's see what tricks Caveat has up his sleeve. And he doesn't even have sleeves. That's going to be the biggest trick of all. Take it away, baby. Show us what you got. Wow. Once again, Caveat brought the goods. We had international horror movie posters, a skeleton church, and weird and strange costumes from the past to the present. Thanks, Caveat. Thanks. Join us again next time, and we'll cast our net into the deep sea of artistic derangement and see what we haul up. Nighty night from me and Caveat, the Latin cat.
I'm just a simple man. I have to do the simple things that a simple man can. You are holding out your hand. You want to know the simple things in my simple plan.